Hey, you did it. You showed up for 7 days. You looked beneath the surface. You named what you've been avoiding. You got honest about the struggles, the strongholds, the lies, and the burdens. You traced the ripple effect. You painted a vision of who you're becoming. That's not small work, that's brave work. And before we move into week 2, I want you to pause, take a breath, look back at what you've done, and let it sink in. Because transformation doesn't happen in one giant leap, it happens in small, courageous steps. And you just took 7 of them. Today we're reflecting on week 1, discovery. We're bringing it all together, we're celebrating your progress, and we're preparing for what comes next. So let's reflect. But before we dive in, welcome to Graceful Growth in Midlife. I'm Teresa. If you're new here, this podcast is where we navigate cultural chaos and personal struggles with biblical clarity and grace. We're figuring this out together, creating unshakable faith in an unstable world. Before we jump in, if you haven't joined the free Unshakable 21-day faith journey yet, you can sign up at thegracefulgrowth.com/unshakable. It's a complete downloadable workbook with daily emails walking you through discovery, understanding, and healing, designed to help you build unshakable faith in an unstable world. Now here's the thing, it's called the 21-day journey, but you don't have to do it in 21 straight days. You can work through it at your own pace, take time to absorb it, sit with the hard questions. Some days might take more than one day, and that's completely okay. It's not a race. It's about depth, not speed. Also, if you find you need more space for journaling than what's provided in the section, there are additional journal pages in the section, but also more in the back. So use them, fill them up. This is your journey, and you've got to make it work the way it works best for you. And these episodes, they're your companion content, going even deeper into each day's theme. All right, let's get into this. So here's what happened this week. Day 1, you got honest about why you're here. You named the struggles that brought you to this journey without sanitizing them. You painted a picture of what freedom would look like. You acknowledged what you're afraid might happen if you go deeper with God. Day 2 and 3, you learned the difference between strongholds and lies. You identified the patterns that feel impossible to break and the false beliefs fueling those patterns. You started connecting the dots between what you believe about yourself and how you live. Day 4, you looked honestly at who you are right now. Not who you were, not who you're becoming, but who you are today. Strengths and weaknesses, needs and wants, seeing yourself the way God sees you. Day 5, you made your burden list. You named specifically what's weighing you down. Health, relationships, work, habits, emotions. You identified what you've been carrying alone without bringing it to God. Day 6, you traced the ripple effect. You saw how your burdens affect your mood, energy, relationships, health, patience, and joy. You acknowledged who else is impacted by what you're carrying. And day 7, you painted a vision. You imagined what freedom looks like in concrete daily terms. You identified what becomes possible when you're no longer weighed down. You wrestled with doubt and held on to hope. That's a lot of ground to cover in 7 days. And I want you to take a moment to acknowledge that. You didn't just read about transformation, you did the actual work of excavation. You looked at things you've been avoiding, you named things you've been hiding. That takes courage. So before we move forward, we're pausing to reflect, because reflection is how insights become transformation. It's how information moves from your head to your heart. It's how the work you've done this week actually changes you. So let's walk through the 5 reflection questions in your workbook together. The first question asks, what was the biggest revelation or aha moment from this week? And I want you to really think about this, because there's probably a moment, maybe while you were journaling, maybe while you were listening to an episode, maybe in the middle of the night when you couldn't sleep, where something clicked, where you saw something you hadn't seen before, where a connection was made, where God revealed something that made you go, oh, that's what's been going on? Let me give you some examples of what aha moments might have looked like this week. Maybe your maha. Maybe your aha moment was on day one. You realized that what brought you here isn't actually the surface issue you thought it was. You came thinking it was about weight or time management or relationship problems, but when you got honest, you realized it's about unworthiness, about control, about fear. The surface issue is just a symptom, and this week God showed you what's underneath. Maybe your aha moment was day 2 and 3. You finally understood the connection between the lie you believe and the stronghold that's kept you trapped. You saw that your people pleasing isn't just a personality trait, it's fueled by the lie that you're only valuable if you're useful. Your control issues aren't just type A tendencies, they're driven by the belief that if you let your guard down, everything will fall apart. Seeing the connection changed everything, because now you know what you're actually fighting. Maybe your aha moment was on day 4. You realized you've been so harsh with yourself, you've been treating yourself in ways you would never treat anyone else. And for the first time, you started to see yourself the way God sees you, with both honesty and compassion. Or maybe the opposite happened. Maybe you realized you've been in denial, glossing over real issues, refusing to acknowledge what actually needs attention. And God gently but firmly showed you it's time to stop pretending. Maybe your aha moment was on day 5. You made your burden list and realized you're carrying way more than you thought you were. You've been telling yourself, I'm fine, I can handle it, while slowly being crushed under the weight you never were meant to carry. Seeing it all written down made it real, made it undeniable, made it urgent. Maybe your aha moment was on day 6. You traced the ripple effect and realized your burdens aren't just affecting you. They're affecting everyone else around you. Your kids are bearing the weight of your unhealed anger. Your spouse has experienced the fallout of your anxiety. Your friends are feeling the distance created by your shame. And seeing that, really seeing the full cost, made you realize you can't keep tolerating this, not for you and not for the people you love. And maybe your aha moment came on day 7. You painted a vision of freedom and realized you've been living half a life. You've adapted to the weight for so long that you forgot what it felt like to be free. And for the first time in a long time, you let yourself hope that maybe, just maybe, it could be different. Whatever your aha moment was, write it down. Name it specifically. Don't minimize it. Don't gloss over it. Because that revelation, that's God doing His work in you. That's the Holy Spirit bringing truth to light. That's the beginning of transformation. Hold on to it. Come back to it. Let it do its work in you. The second question asks, which day was hardest for you and why? This one matters because the things that are hardest to look at are usually the things that need most attention. We avoid what we're not ready to face. We minimize what feels too big to handle. We skim past what's too painful to examine closely. But God doesn't let us stay there. He gently, and sometimes not so gently, brings us back to the hard places because that's where the healing needs to happen. So which day was hardest for you? Was it day 1? Was it hard to get honest about why you're really here? To admit that the polished version you present to the world isn't the whole truth? To name the actual struggles instead of the sanitized ones? Maybe it was hard because you've spent so long hiding, performing, keeping up appearances. And getting honest felt like giving up, like admitting defeat, like confirming what you've been afraid of all along, that you don't have it all together. Was it day 2 or 3? Was it hard to identify your strongholds and lies? To look at the patterns you've had for years and realize they're not just bad habits, they're spiritual bondage? Maybe it was hard because you had to acknowledge that trying harder isn't enough, that you can't willpower your way out of a belief problem, that this is going to require more than surface solutions. Was it day 4? Was it hard to look honestly at yourself? To describe yourself without being harsh, but also without glossing over what's real? Maybe it was hard because you realized how critical you are of yourself, or how much you've been in denial, or how disconnected you've become from who you really actually are versus who you think you should be. What about day 5? Was it hard to make your burden list, to see in black and white everything you've been carrying? Maybe it was hard because it made you feel overwhelmed, like the list was too long, like there's too much to fix, like you don't even know where to start. Or maybe it was hard because you had to admit you've been carrying things alone that you were never meant to carry alone, and acknowledging that felt like admitting you need help, and needing help felt like weakness. Or what about day 6? Was it hard to trace the ripple effect, to see how your burdens are affecting the people you love? Maybe it was hard because guilt showed up, shame showed up, the voice that says you're ruining your kids, or you're failing your marriage, or you're a burden to everyone around you. And looking at the impact felt like confirmation of what you've been afraid of all along. Finally, was it day 7? Was it hard to paint a vision of freedom, to imagine what life could look like on the other side? Maybe it was hard because you don't actually believe it's possible for you. You can't see it for other people, but for you, the doubt is too loud, the fear is too strong, the history of failed attempts is too long. Or maybe it was hard because painting the vision made you realize how far you are from it, and that felt discouraging instead of motivating. Whatever day was hardest, I want you to ask yourself, why was that one hard? What emotions came up? Fear, shame, grief, anger, overwhelm? What belief was underneath it? What was that hard moment revealing about you and what you believe about yourself, about God, about change? Because the hardest moments aren't obstacles to avoid, they're invitations to go deeper. The things that are hardest to look at are usually the things that most need God's healing touch. So don't skip past the hard day. Sit with it. Ask God what He's showing you through it. The third question asks, what lie or burden are you most ready to let go of? And notice the question doesn't ask you what you should let go of. It asks you what you're ready to let go of. Because readiness matters. You might have a long list of things that need to change, but if you're not ready to release them, they won't budge. So what are you actually ready to let go of? Maybe it's a lie. I'm not enough. I have to be perfect to be loved. I'm too much. It's not safe to trust. I have to control everything or it will fall apart. Which lie are you tired of believing? Which one has stolen enough from you that you're ready to fight for the truth? Maybe it's a burden. The anger you've been carrying towards someone who hurt you. The anxiety that's been stealing your sleep. The shame that's been keeping you hiding. The control that's been exhausting you. Which burden are you ready to lay at God's feet? Which one are you tired of white-knuckling? Here's what I want you to understand. Readiness doesn't mean you have it all figured out. It doesn't mean you know how to let it go, and it doesn't mean you're not scared. Readiness just means you're tired enough of what it's costing you that you're willing to try something different. It means you've hit the point where staying stuck is more painful than the work of change. Let me give you some examples of what readiness looks like. I don't know how to stop comparing myself to everyone, but I'm so tired of it stealing my joy that I'm willing to let God show me how. I don't know how to forgive the person who hurt me, but I'm exhausted from carrying this anger, and I know it's only hurting me. I don't know how to believe I'm worthy without performing, but I can't keep living at this pace, and I'm ready to try trusting that God loves me as I am. I don't know how to let go of control, but the anxiety is killing me, and I'm ready to stop bearing the weight of holding everything together myself. See what we're doing? We're not saying, I've got this figured out. We're saying, I can't keep doing this, and I'm willing to let God help. That's readiness. So what are you ready to let go of? Not what you should let go of. Not what does someone else think you should release. What do you what are you ready to release? What has cost you enough that you're willing to fight for freedom from it? Write it down, be specific, name the lie or burden that you're ready to surrender, and then, and this is important, acknowledge that you don't have to know how. You just have to be willing. God will show you how. Your job is to show up with open hands and say, I'm ready, help me. The fourth question asks, how did you see God show up for you this week? And this question matters because transformation isn't something we do, it's something God does in us while we cooperate. So where did you see him working? Maybe you saw him in the aha moments, the revelation that came out of nowhere, the connection you didn't see before, the truth that suddenly clicked into place. That wasn't just you figuring things out, that was the Holy Spirit bringing light into dark places. Maybe you saw him in the courage to keep going. There were probably moments this week where you wanted to quit, when it felt too hard, when you wanted to close the workbook and pretend you're fine. But you didn't. You kept showing up. And that courage, that wasn't just your willpower, that was God strengthening you to do what you couldn't do on your own. Maybe you saw him in the comfort when things got hard. Maybe there was a moment when the grief felt overwhelming, or the shame felt crushing, or the fear felt paralyzing, and somehow, through a verse, through a conversation, through a moment of unexpected peace, you felt held. That was God reminding you that you're not alone, that he's with you, that he's got you. Maybe you saw him in the vision he gave you. When you painted a picture of who you're becoming, maybe you felt hope stir for the first time in a long time. Maybe you caught a glimpse of what's possible. That hope, that vision, that wasn't just wishful thinking. That was God showing you what he's already begun in you. Maybe you saw it in his patience with you. Maybe you struggled with doubt. Maybe you had moments where you didn't believe transformation was possible for you. Maybe you wrestled with God over things you didn't want to surrender. And he didn't leave. He didn't give up on you. He waited with patience and love while you processed. That patience, that's God. He's not frustrated with your slow progress. He's faithful to complete what he started. So how did you see God show up this week? Write it down. Be specific. Because when we too gets hard, and it will, you're going to need to remember that God was faithful in week 1, that he showed up, that he was working even when you couldn't see it. That's what builds faith, not just believing God can work, but remembering that he has worked, that he's been faithful before and he'll be faithful again. The fifth and final question asks, what's one thing you're taking into week 2? Not everything, just one thing. One truth, one commitment, one revelation, one prayer. What's one thing from week 1 you need to carry forward? Maybe it's, I'm not pretending I'm fine. I'm going to keep being honest even when it's hard. Or God sees me and loves me exactly as I am. I don't have to be fixed to be worthy. Or I can't do this alone. I need God and I need to stop trying to manage everything myself. Or transformation is possible for me. I've seen good work this week and I'm holding on to that hope. Or the cost of staying stuck is too high. I'm committed to this journey even when it gets uncomfortable. Whatever it is, write it down. Make it your anchor for week 2. Because next week we're going into understanding. We're going deeper. We're asking why. We're connecting the dots between your past and your present. And it's going to require some courage you showed in week 1. The same honesty, the same willingness to let God search you. But you've already proven you can do the hard things. You did it this week and you can do it next week too. So here's your action step today. Open your workbook to the week 1 reflection page and answer all 5 questions. What was the biggest revelation or aha moment from this week? Which day was the hardest for you and why? What burden or lie are you most ready to let go of? How did you see God show up for you this week? What's one thing you're taking into week 2? Don't rush through this. This isn't a checkbox exercise. This is how the work you've done becomes transformation. And then celebrate. Seriously, you showed up for 7 days. That's not nothing. That's huge. So acknowledge what you've done, thank God for meeting you there, and prepare your heart for what's coming next. So next time, we're starting week 2. Understanding day 8 is called Going Deeper, and we're moving from what's wrong to where did this come from. It might feel uncomfortable, but healing requires understanding the roots. The complete Unshakable 21-Day Faith Journey workbook is waiting for you at thegracefulgrowth.com/unshakable. It's free. Workbook, daily emails, and all. If this journey is resonating with you, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming, and I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below or connect with us on thegracefulgrowth.com on the blog. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time. God bless.